Todd, welcome.
Thanks for coming, everybody.
So, Todd, what an amazing E3 that you're having, Bethesda Game Studios is having. First, the trailer that we released a few weeks before E3 kind of set the internet on fire. And then, at the showcase at the Dolby Theater, I mean, I don't think it's an exaggeration to say you might have blown the roof off the theater. So how are you feeling?
I'm a little tired, but it was amazing. The response we've gotten from all the fans and everything. Really enjoyable moment for myself, everybody on the team to finally unveil the game, and just it seems to make, and happy isn't the right word. Like, people want it to come back, and it's like a very joyous moment for everybody who loves Fallout, and that includes the team.
So you talk about building these worlds and building them from the ground up and trying to capture all those details. But in the past, you were working with less horsepower. Now you're making a game that's coming out to the PS4, the Xbox One, and the latest PCs. What does having that extra horsepower working on current-gen consoles allow you to do, especially in terms of details, that you weren't able to do before?
Well, I think with each of our games, the graphics is always going to move along, and you're going to look at any, most games today have really good graphics. It's pretty standard, but what we like to do with that, not just the graphics, but memory is important to us, how much memory it has, is we can make a world that has more, not just more details, but more dynamic details that we can keep track of, or we can stream in and load quicker, and all of that suspends your disbelief that this is a real world. Because there are quiet moments when maybe you're going through a ruined place, it's a little bit scary and dusty, and it's downtime, and it suspends your disbelief that you're there. So then when something crazy happens, a death claw comes busting through, it's that much more real. You feel like you're really immersed in the world. It just allows you to really be part of that world, right? Yeah, or you stumble into an old, we go through a lot of environmental stories, and stumble into a bedroom where maybe somebody lived.
Technical talk, you mentioned full physical base rendering and dynamic volumetric lighting. Now, I know what I saw the water looks beautiful, the world looks beautiful, but what does that mean? Tell us, and what does that mean to the gamer?
To the gamer, it looks prettier. So people like that. The volumetric lighting is I don't know that we show it off as well. I think the shot in the trailer where the vault door opens, you see it come through, is decent, but when the weather rolls in, that sense of haze isn't just a series of effects that are on the screen. They're actually tessellated, polygonal volumetric lighting that is hazing the world, and it's really good for Fallout, because we're doing a lot of things that, even though we have areas that load, we have a lot more things that don't load. So you're going to enter into like a destroyed house, and then those dust and light and fog shafts that are coming through, various holes from where the sun is, and then spending time and watching it move. It just creates an atmosphere that we haven't been able to do before. And the graphics matter. They do matter in setting you in this world.
I noticed that. I think a lot of people noticed was how much more vivid the colors are, especially the blues of the sky. And just there's a different color palette. Is that intentional? Is that something you express?
Intention. Yeah.
Sure. Well, of course.
Yeah. And it was funny. I think we're so used to it because we've been working on the game for so long that when people said, "Oh my God, there's blue," when you first saw it.
Yeah, that's true.
Actually, the first thing you said, "Hey, Gary, we think that there's blue. Why wouldn't there be blue?" So. I mean, for us, the world is already, looking back at Fallout 3, when we start the game, we'll go back and play them all. Right. And just kind of like reset your mind, okay, like what feels best for Fallout. And looking back at 3, there is this sameness to the environment. It looks good. Right. It doesn't really vary much, and so it can be, if you're playing the game for an 8-hour stretch, it can be a little depressing. So our view was, the world's already destroyed, first of all. You're going to get a lot of grays and browns and dust. And Istvan Pele, our lead artist on it, was really into calling out things for your attention that had bits of color that we wanted to do anyway, so finding the right balance of that. The other thing that really people need to know, we kind of hinted at it in the trailer and the other footage, is that there is different weather. So you'll see a couple shots where it looks more like Fallout 3, where it's kind of blasted. And that, we actually have a part of the world we call the glowing sea, which is where the bomb falls. So we want it to vary as opposed to just being one note. So there's a section of the map where the bomb fell, and that looks more like your classic Fallout 3 wasteland, but even more so. And then we have a new weather system for this one, so that the storms from the glowing sea, these radiation storms, can flare up and then blow through the world. And when the lightning goes off, you get radiated. But that creates a very post-apocalyptic look. And so having that change while you're playing the game is really important to us. So then there's rain and other things as well. So I think in the stuff we've shown, we've made it a bit brighter, just because that does show better on video.
Right. But there's a real range, which is some
yeah. If you
nice.
use the color there, if you're then going to desaturate it, we need to have enough vibrancy there at a base level.
You've told us a little bit about the environment, how it's going to take away, but what can you tell us about the story?
Nothing? No. I can tell you that we have spent more time, I want to say without spoiling anything, looking at how people experience an open world game and yet tell a story, and a strong story that, and how it reacts to the choices you make. So, looking at Skyrim, we do sacrifice, or other games, we do sacrifice really good storytelling for player freedom in an open world. And we will still make that sacrifice, but we found, sitting down and going through it, Emil is the lead designer and writer on this one, he was on Fallout 3, looking at, well, what can we do, not, fix it is the wrong word, but take advantage of the fact that it's an open world. What is a really good story to tell, given this is the kind of game we want to make? And so I think we've made some really good inroads there.
The big question that I think a lot of people have had, can Dogmeat die?
He cannot die.
That is awesome.
He can get, that's your only applause. We're doing all this applause.
People love dogs.
Yeah. We're done.
Finally, man.
He can get really hurt, so he'll go down and be incapacitated during a fight, and you can run over and jam a stim pack in him, and then he'll get up. So we kind of find the dog dying is a reload scenario for, no one plays the game, the dog dies, they go, fuck it, I'll just keep playing. And so, we wanted to make him, when he's your follower, your actual companion in the game,
right.
There's a number of them, not just the dog. They can't be killed in that state.
Oh, that's great. And of course, do you have to have the dog, or is that another player?
No. You can take him, you've seen Mr. Handy, he's one of the other companions. So you can take Mr. Handy instead of the dog, and you can swap him in and out. So we'll talk about this later. We do have a number of companions that fit. They're very cool and that fit different archetypes. And the dog, I think, is a very classic Fallout one. That's why we're showing it now. You could any of your companions you can use the command system on. So you could have Mr. Handy and command him to do things as well.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that's why we went through the effort with him of saying your name and all that.
Trying to look at how to tell a story, right? We wanted to tell this big epic story, and do that in a way that the player sort of relay emotion and have these emotional moments. And we realized, there's only so much, if you play Fallout 3, Liam Neeson is the voice of your dad, and there are some good emotional beats there, but there's only so much you can do when you're just clicking on a line of dialogue and there's no spoken response, and you can't. So the emotional depth that we got by having a voice protagonist we're actually way more intense than I even expected, like the advantages of it.
Yeah, some of that was logistical. Can we?
Right.
We didn't want to hold back what we would usually do with, all the choice we want. So, they have spent years on it. Each of them have recorded over 13,000 lines, and also we found, we found 2 great voice actors for the male and the female players.
Yeah. Well, Todd, could you believe it? We actually have him here.
Believe it.
Yeah. So we'd like to welcome to the stage voice actors Brian T. Delaney, Courtney Taylor, and voice director Kalo Bogdanovich. How'd I do? God well. Okay, so how did you guys get started on the project?
I started out almost 4 years ago now. I had done voice direction for one of the DLCs for New Vegas, and then later I worked on Skyrim. And when they started putting this project together, well, I guess they had been working on it for a couple of years, but when they started hiring people who do what I do, we did some early tests about 4 years ago, and that's when I jumped on board, and it's just been like one of the highlights of my career. I'm really grateful this time.
Highlights of mine too. I remember I looked it up. July 9th, 2013 was my first day of work. And I remember I knew this was going to be a big deal, but I didn't know the game title. I only knew the code name.
Yeah.
So we show up and I do the first line, which happens to be War Never Changes. And I say, Cal, just can you tell me what the name of the game is? And he says, well, yeah, the line. Right, the line, of course. Yeah, I know. I didn't. So when he told me and the scope of the game and what they were doing and what Todd and the team were doing, it kind of blew me away. Even more so than when I first found out I booked the job. So pretty cool.
What are some unique characteristics of working on a project this massive compared to other things you've worked on?
The number one difference between this and the many other games that I've worked on is the amount of time and care that has gone into the writing and then the recording of this material. I don't know how much you guys know about this, but in a lot of other games, AAA games, they'll wait till like the last month or two to record everything for the game, and it's a huge rush. And sometimes you're doing like 100 lines an hour, and it's nuts. To have had the artistic luxury of being able to work on this with these two, unfortunately Courtney's not here, these two incredibly talented actors for as long as we have, almost 3 years, definitely 3 by the time it launches, is just, it shows an attention to detail and a respect for the material and for the audience that you just don't see elsewhere. It's really extraordinary.
And for you guys, what's it been like working with them?
Awesome. It's again, that goes back to, if we're going to really do this the way we want, we need to logistically figure out how we can record voice for 4 years. And so, Cal came in early. We did some. There's some performance capture we do in the game, so there's that part of it as well. And we were anxious, about having a voice, because it changes how do I feel about my character. And when we heard Brian and Courtney, and we auditioned a ton of people. I don't know if you know how many.
Oh yeah.
It was. Oh yeah.
Yeah, really?
Oh yeah.
But you were number one.
And we'd have team voting. So we would put up various pictures of different character faces and make everybody in the team, get everybody in the team listen to them. And because sometimes you get a good voice, but it doesn't feel right to everybody. And it was like Courtney Taylor.
Yay! Courtney Taylor.
Oh, sorry.
This was a late idea, by the way. Everybody you should come. It'll be great. But anyway, finding them really made all the difference. And it's weird. Actually, today's the first day I actually met face to face. And I've been listening to his voice as the character, and they both have really owned the characters for years, and it got better and better and better. And we'll speak to it too, because most of the writing.
You talk about, you can play the game as a female protagonist or male protagonist, and so either gender can do everything in the game, right? So it was really cool for me to see the differences in the lines and the things that Brian brought and the things that Courtney brought were sometimes completely different. Like I would write them a certain way, or the designers would write these things a certain way, and you would expect a certain performance, and then they would deliver something way beyond what we expected. And so that actually happened very early. And that, you know, I spoke a little bit earlier of trust. It establishes trust with, you know, we have this very emotional story, and the trust you have to have that these, you know, these folks are going to knock it out of the park. It just, the recording sessions almost became conversational, you know what I mean? Just like, let's go in, let's do it, you know? And the communication to be able to talk to these guys and Cal about, that's not working, can we try it this way? Yeah, well, it's been awesome.